like, I don't know, maybe a little something like the playoff reveal, some conference championship games. We got Army-Navy coming up in a few days as well. You got coaches having their introductory press conferences to start the week. Shout out to Penn State, by the way, who somehow fell backwards into one of the best coaching hires, I think, of the cycle, and Matt Campbell going to PSU. But anyways, we can talk about that another time. This is College Football Tailgate. I'm Dan Watkins. John McKechnie is here with me as always. This is our Conference Championship Week recap and playoff reveal reaction show. So we did a little off-the-cuff instant reaction for you guys on our podcast feeds and on TikTok Live yesterday, or on Sunday rather, depending on when you're listening to this, right as the bracket was unveiled. But John, now that we've had 24 hours or so to fully digest and dig in, how do you feel about this bracket? You got the 4 teams up top: Indiana, Ohio State, Georgia, Texas Tech getting the byes, and then you got Oregon, Ole Miss, Texas A&M, Oklahoma, Alabama, Miami, Tulane, James Madison. You got the 2 G5 teams as well. How do you feel a full day out from when this thing was revealed?
Well, the committee, by its own rules, kind of had I don't think that this situation was really considered when they drew this up. I think that it's not going to shock you folks, but it seems like the committee kind of makes a lot of stuff up as they go, and this has been the case, time immortal since the beginning of the college football playoff. To err is to be human, right? And so this wasn't going to be perfect, and I think that there was a perfect storm in the sense of the ACC kind of taking itself out of the mix as far as its actual conference champion being worthy of making the college football playoff. So therefore, what I think was meant to be kind of cheeky language to kind of safeguard against this situation for the committee, it backfires on them, and now we are sitting here with 2 Group of 5 teams in, and again, shout out to Tulane, shout out to James Madison, did everything that they could to earn their place in this playoff. But do I think that they are 2 of the best 12 teams? I don't. Do I think they're 2 of the best 15 teams? I stop short of that as well. I think we'd have a better product, and I swear I'm not just saying this because of your rooting interest, but I do think that Notre Dame should have been in, but you couldn't really, at the end of the day, put them in over Miami, given that Miami had beaten them straight up. So then I think you move the discussion to, okay, you got 2 spots for 3 teams. You got Bama, you got Notre Dame, and you have Miami. And the Miami Notre Dame thing had largely been settled. So then what do you exactly do with an Alabama team that lost 3 games, but one of them came in the conference championship game to a team that they had already beaten this year? How do you stack that up exactly? I think the committee kind of foretold their what they were going to do by moving Alabama ahead of Notre Dame in their penultimate rankings last week. But Alabama, I think if I had my say on this committee, and I don't think I'm alone in this, I would have left Alabama out. I think you can be penalized for losing your conference championship game. In fact, Brad Powers had this great tweet yesterday that said, in the last 3 years, 16 conference championship losers have been ranked in the CFP top 25 going in to that game. 15 of them dropped in the next poll. Who's the lone exception? Alabama. Alabama, who, again, lost their 3rd game of the year. They lost to Florida State. It didn't seem like that really counted against them at all, whereas everyone else's losses got really microscoped. They lost as a 14-point favorite by 14 points to 5-7 Florida State. And they still get in, and they don't even get penalized. Whereas BYU, it was known that they were dead men walking going into Saturday if they were to lose that game. Even if they kept it close, they probably would have gotten knocked. The committee was just waiting for BYU to lose that game. They were okay, we need a couple things this weekend. That's definitely one of them. We can't have 2 Big 12 teams, even though we feigned respect about the Big 12 throughout the course of our ranking shows. Ugh. Yeah, so now we're just kind of in this weird spot where it's are you penalizing Notre Dame for not playing in a conference fully? Are you what are you doing with the meaning and the significance of conference championship games? And ultimately they weighed it out and decided that Alabama would be the better team to have in based on whatever reason.
So I think the committee went into Sunday morning with two things at the top of their mind. Number one, they didn't want to completely blow up championship weekend because they are just way too big of money makers for the sport, especially in the SEC. And I don't think there was any world where they were going to tell the SEC runner-up, who was the number one seed in that conference going into that game, that they weren't going to be invited to this playoff, no matter how they played on Saturday afternoon. And they got their ass handed to them. Like, let's be frank about this. Alabama sucked on Saturday. They were terrible. The committee was not going to tell Alabama, who was the number one seed in the SEC, that was the runner-up in that game and played that extra game, that they couldn't come, while Ole Miss, Texas A&M, and Oklahoma are all sitting at home on the couch and that they get to go in. That wasn't going to happen. And the number two, with the way the ACC played out in that doomsday scenario, that chaos scenario in the ACC that we were talking about last week, where what if Duke wins this game? Duke wasn't getting in with 5 losses. So anybody that thought that, including some of the tweets I've seen from people at the ACC and stuff like that, trying to politic and get Duke into that thing yesterday, like, get out of here with that. That ACC game Saturday night, like, I kept flipping back, like, from the Big Ten game to that game and just wanted to, like, pull my hair out with how those two teams were playing that game Saturday night. But anyways, the committee was not going to tell one of their Power 4 conferences that they're not invited to this tournament. And that's how Miami gets in. BYU drops. It's unfair to them that they dropped a spot. Ohio State dropped a spot, too. They played a championship game Saturday night. I mean, I think rightfully so. They lost to a team that was right behind them, who jumps them, and I think is the rightful number one seed in Indiana. So that wasn't going to happen. And then that leaves Notre Dame as the odd team out. And you could say Notre Dame might have been punished for not playing in a conference. Personally, I like that Notre Dame is independent. If I was in charge of a power school or whatever and a big-time college football program, I'd want to be independent with how everything is structured and set up there as well. I think the myth about the Notre Dame schedule being weak or something like that is exactly that, a myth. I think when you stack up Notre Dame's schedule compared to a lot of other teams in the country, with the exception of some SEC schools, with how just the thing breaks, that Notre Dame's schedule is just as tough as a lot of other Power 4 schools. But with Notre Dame, I mean, this is kind of... This is like the game that you play, though, right? Where you want to be independent and you have all these things that are set up in your favor, where you have a guaranteed seat, or anyways, like the money is fully guaranteed to you if you do make the playoff, or next year where if Notre Dame, I saw this came out, where if Notre Dame is ranked in the top 12, they are automatically given a spot, which I don't think is going to be a big of a deal because I think we're going to 16 teams. So I think people are blowing that a little out of proportion. But on the other hand, though, like if it comes down to a situation where we saw this past weekend, yeah, you could be the odd team out, and it sucks for Notre Dame. It sucks for the players and all that, and it sucks for Notre Dame fans as well. And I had this feeling, though, John, I've been talking about this for over a month, right, where it just felt like at the last second they were going to flip-flop them. Something was going to happen. And I think the big problem with this is the process of this college football playoff and stuff like that. And some people have floated out the idea, well, why don't we just do away with the ranking show every single week? I don't think that's going to solve everything. And I don't think that's even like a viable or a feasible option, because like ESPN's not giving that up. That's just not going to happen. But
programming on Tuesdays in an otherwise dead time of the year.
Right, exactly. And people tune in for that. I mean, as awkward as it is, where like Reese Davis, shout out to him for having to do that awkward interview every single week with that committee chair. But anyways, like you said, it felt like that committee was making it up as they go, where the asinine comments from this committee where it's, well, we're not even like comparing the head-to-head because we don't have them in the same bracket. And like we don't have them on the same tier. And now all of a sudden Notre Dame, who this entire ranking period and process is ahead of Miami, does nothing but blow out their competition, including hanging a 70 spot on a Power 4 school in Syracuse. Make fun of Syracuse is what you want, but Notre Dame still put 70 on them. And then they go out to out to California on the West Coast and blow out Stanford, a Stanford team that was I believe they were tied with Miami at halftime in Coral Gables or in Miami at Hard Rock when they played. And now all of a sudden we get to the final unveiling and Miami goes ahead of Notre Dame, which I don't have a problem with. I'm totally fine with Miami getting in over Notre Dame. It's just this process and how everything played out over the past month.
Right, and just like the lack of consistency, and like there is like an element of the viewers shouldn't be able to like call BS on this committee like so easily as we were able
Right.
to. It's like, no, they're gonna move some stuff around here and they're gonna screw Team X. They're gonna do this. They're gonna do that. Like we know that they have BYU ranked 11th, but we know that they are gonna kick them as far out of this thing as they possibly can if they're gonna lose to Texas Tech. The Notre Dame example with Miami, and even like the posturing of Alabama ahead of Notre Dame going into the conference championship weekend, where again,
and the reasoning for that too, because they had played a great first half against Auburn.
Yeah, they end up winning that game by like 7, and like it is like ugly. They had a pretty low post game win expectancy. So like if you want to do like some numbers stuff, like Alabama probably should have lost that game to Auburn. So in that they barely beat South Carolina, they kind of needed to pull a rabbit out of their hat to do that at Williams-Brice about a month and a half ago. So really, like if you're looking, I feel like there should be some weight for, and it's hard to quantify, like who's playing better right now. And like Alabama, I think for the last month or so of the season has been, and I know that like body of work should overtake it, but it's got to be at least like a little bit considered. I think Notre Dame is a top 5 or top 7, top 10-ish team right now if you were to just kind of stack everything up. And the metrics back that up, whereas Alabama, I think especially if you were to factor in like the last month or so, they're not that. They're not even close to that. So
yeah,
they let a better team out of the college football playoff.
And as a lot of people have pointed out too, like this committee, like this entire time, right? They wanted to talk about the strength of your losses and all that. That all of a sudden became like the big metric that they were talking about for like the entire month of November. Out of Miami, Notre Dame, and Alabama, John, which one of those 3 schools lost to a team that finished 5-7?
Alabama did.
That would be Alabama. That's right. And as you mentioned, Florida State just absolutely miserable this year. Miami blew their doors off in Tallahassee, same place where Alabama lost by 14, as you mentioned, as a 14-point favorite in that game. So yeah, Alabama to not get docked at all is peculiar, I would say, to say the least. Definitely feels like something might be going on there behind the scenes, but it is what it is. The bracket is out. Alabama, I guess I guess you could say Bama's getting punished by going to play a team that just like totally frustrated the hell out of them a couple of weeks ago. And now they have to go to Norman, to a place where their head coach has never won, or against the school rather, that their coach has never won. Obviously he's never won in Norman. He's only played there once. But yeah, so Oklahoma, Alabama is that Friday night, the very first playoff game. So Alabama could be out of this thing very quickly here. But we have plenty of time to talk about that in those other matchups coming up in the first round. I do want to talk about, though, a little bit of the fallout with this year's playoff committee and the rankings and how this came out. I don't think there's a perfect solution to this. Like, someone's going to be pissed off every year. It's just going to happen. It's sports. Yeah. It's subjective. That's what happens. But a couple of the things that I do think we're going to see, because we know that the powers that be are going to meet in the offseason, and they're going to tweak some things like they did a year ago where they saw Boise State and Arizona State get the byes and then both lose right away. They tweaked that so like you don't have to be a conference champion to get the bye. Something that would have benefited Notre Dame, by the way, for all my fellow Irish fans that are saying that everything's stacked against them or something like that. Notre Dame could have gotten a bye this year if they beat Miami or Texas A&M at the beginning of the season. Notre Dame would probably be sitting in one of those top 4 spots. But anyways, some of the things that I think we will see, I think the committee's going to look at it and say, okay, we can't let 2 G5 teams get in this again. Like, you look at this, like these 2 games are setting up to be bloodbaths. I fully expect them to both be. They're both at least 3-score spreads. I think maybe the Ole Miss line came back down to 16 or something like that, depending on where you're looking. But I'm wondering now if they throw in like an extra rung of criteria for the G5 where to get in, yes, you got to win your conference, but you got to be in our top 15 or something like that. Or if we expand to 16, you got to be in our top 20. And you got to schedule a couple Power 4 schools throughout the season here so we can see you. Because if you look at both Tulane and James Madison, Well, they each played a Power 4 opponent. Tulane played Ole Miss, got their doors blown off, and James Madison played Louisville and lost by multiple touchdowns. So
Yep.
I think we see that as one of these little criteria things. And I think they're going to tell the ACC, who we've skipped by this at this point, change your damn tiebreaker. Like, what the hell are you doing letting Duke get in that game? And I know they won, and ultimately Duke wins that game. They are the ACC champions at 8-5. But, like, they should have done – the ACC should have done what the AAC did in the American and have their tiebreaker set up, structured so that the playoff ranking comes into play here too, if we're going to have these ranking reveals every single week. I think those are a couple very easy things to fix here and could have saved a lot of headaches going into the playoff.
No, exactly. So I think, we come out of this all just kind of laughing at the ACC is supposed to be the smart conference, right? With all the smart schools, and they
Right.
did the dumbest stuff.
Too smart for their own good.
Them Southern boys got it figured out, though.
It's for sure. But anyways, so the ACC, it feels like there's a little bit of fallout. So Notre Dame's athletic director went on the Dan Patrick Show this morning, Monday morning, as we're recording this. And, well, he had some things to say about the ACC. Quote, "We were mystified by the actions of the conference. They have certainly done permanent damage to the relationship between the conference and Notre Dame." I think what he's hinting at there is over this past weekend, the ACC obviously banging the drum for Miami to get in or Duke as their champion to get in. And they were kind of taking subtle jabs at Notre Dame, even though Notre Dame is a member school in 24 other sports and also plays like a half an ACC schedule. I think they play 5 or 6 games off the top of my head in the ACC every year. I mean, this just sounds to me, one, yes, it does sound like having your cake and eat it too, where Notre Dame doesn't want to fully commit to the ACC in football, and now they're, kind of backlash, and there's some backlash there, and they're not happy about it. But two, this sounds like Notre Dame is going to be pulling the plug on the ACC, and this could, domino effect, the end of the ACC in the next couple of years, because you also have that pending litigation that hasn't gone away with Florida State trying to get out. I think Clemson wants to get out. The ACC, and not to mention that their conference was like a total clown show on the football field this year as well. This thing could really domino effect to where the ACC's just gone entirely here.
Yeah, no, it's potentially seismic. We'll have to kind of see what comes of this. But yeah, if Notre Dame pulls its ties from the ACC, it felt like they were doing a lot of the heavy lifting that say Texas and OU were in the Big 12 or something, where it's like they're such a larger draw than the rest of the conference that they're affiliated with. This could be really troublesome for the ACC, and therefore we might see some sort of super conferences eventually where we get effectively the Power 5, Power 4, whatever gets the NFL treatment,
right.
Just a bunch of tough division type of thing set up.
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely in uncharted waters, in unknown territory at this point. I mean, people have floated out that 2 super conference thing for a while now. It wouldn't surprise me if we do eventually get there. But yeah, I think we'll see Notre Dame somehow trying to work their way out of that commitment to the 4 or 5 ACC games they play every single season, and then we'll see what happens with other sports as well here, going down the road. Another little piece of fallout here that also I think is going to have big time ramifications for how the sport looks and the postseason structure looks coming down the road here in the next few years. Notre Dame took their ball and went home. They said, "We're not going to a bowl game. You pulled the rug out from us at the last second of the playoff. Well, now we're not going to go to the Pop-Tart Bowl, and we're not going to play BYU in the Pop-Tart Bowl." I'm curious your thoughts on this. Me, yes, I am a Notre Dame fan. I have zero problems with it whatsoever. Let's not act like the bowl system hasn't been falling apart and rapidly deteriorating for the past decade. 2, you want Notre Dame, who for the entire month this committee said is a playoff team. Notre Dame did not lose a single game. They blew out their opponents, and then at the 11th hour got kicked out to the curb, and now you want them to play nice and go play a bowl game. And then 3, the people are saying, this one's cracking me up too, that Notre Dame's scared of BYU. There was going to be so many dropouts like of that game and withdrawals from that game of the players. Like it wasn't going to be what it would have been if it was a playoff matchup. So I don't have any problem with it whatsoever. If I'm the Irish, you get your head start on the transfer portal, you get your team ready to go for next season, and three, probably the most important thing, you get a new contract for Marcus Freeman before an NFL team can come calling if they haven't already. Make Marcus Freeman one of the highest paid coaches in this sport so you can keep building this thing with the recruiting classes that he's got coming in. I have zero issue with it because I hate that bowl games are meaningless on one hand if they're not a playoff game, but like, let's not pretend that this is like 1994 and like these bowl games are like these huge end of the year celebration things that they once were, where now it's just you get to kind of see who's on your roster for next year.
Yeah, the playoff has killed the bowl system. Like earlier on, we were talking about like this what was at stake with these conference championship games. If you stopped assigning meaning to them, or did something as egregious as leaving Alabama out of the college football playoff, like but the fallout is that especially in the 12-team playoff era, where obviously 3 times as many teams are getting into the playoff now as they were just a couple years ago. Bowl games just don't mean anything. If you had a good season and now you have to go play in a bowl game, like it means less than nothing to you at this point, especially in this particular era. So I don't mind, or I definitely understand Notre Dame's decision to just like not do it. I'm bummed that bowl season has. I mean, I think it's important to note that Notre Dame doing this doesn't single-handedly kill bowl season. I think the bowl season has been dead, and this puts like a bigger spotlight on that fact. I think more than anything, and I think I'm saying this as like a neutral observer. I think that Notre Dame is just going to get more hate for doing something like that than pretty much any other program, because it just based on perception, it's like, yeah, you guys are just taking your ball and going home, or like the comment about like we're not going to give ESPN the ratings, but by exposing our brand here, it's like, all right, but people are just going to kind of have like a sharper pencil when grading this move for Notre Dame in particular.
Yeah, I think the only school that could have maybe got a more visceral reaction would have probably been like Alabama. If Alabama loses the SEC, gets kicked out of the playoff, and then they said they're not going to a bowl game, I think that's the only other program in the country. But you're probably right. People are just going to get pissed at no matter what Notre Dame does. Yeah. Like, if Notre Dame went to that bowl game and they blew out BYU, like, people are going to get mad one way or another. Like, they'll find something to say. So it doesn't really bother me. Baylor, I believe, also did the same thing. But
Iowa State's out, too.
Sure.
Understandably, with their coach.
Like, you're going to see this, I think, become much more frequent and much more of a popular decision for these teams that don't make the playoff going forward here. But anyways, looking at this playoff, though, John, and I think maybe Thursday we'll do a much more deeper dive into this. Let's just kind of touch on the surface level here.
Sure.
Some of these teams, like the pass, like the bracket, like anybody that, like, any of these teams like really jump out to you with like, oh, this team should be absolutely thrilled? I mean, I think you as a Georgia fan should be pretty thrilled with this setup here. At the 3 seed, I mean, you're either going to get a G5 team or you're going to get the team that could not stop you, that you scored every single time you touched the ball there with your first playoff game. And then you get a shot at Ohio State, who looks a lot more vulnerable than they did 72 hours ago.
Right. So I think that's a fair one. I think a lot of my buddies that are Georgia fans, they were rooting for the 3 seed for that reason, to get that first draw against the 6-11 winner, because it is a little bit of a tougher draw for Ohio State in the quarterfinals to get the winner of Miami or Texas A&M. So that's definitely true. But yeah, if I'm going to nitpick about Georgia's draw, like it's not about the draw so much as it is about the results from the Big Ten championship game. If you gave me truth serum and Indiana was the 2 seed instead of Ohio State, I'd feel better about this draw than I do as it currently stands, whereas they'll have to, I guess, go out to the Fiesta Bowl for the 2-3 game between Georgia and Ohio State, provided that both of those teams make it. Again, long-winded way of saying I'd rather play Indiana, but potentially famous last words. I mean, Indiana could potentially do this whole damn thing. So that was kind of my main takeaway. from that. And, Indiana has to be pretty happy with their draw as well. Getting the number one seed, getting to play in the Rose Bowl, getting to play the expected, weakest remaining team once we get to the quarterfinals.
Yeah, so I'm going to talk out of both sides of my mouth here, but is it okay that I say that Ole Miss should also be pumped with their draw? Because, one, you get Tulane, a team that you beat, that you smacked around. So you're going to get a tune-up game for Pete Golding as the first time as a head coach. You're going to get Charlie Weiss, first-time play caller, now that Lane Kiffin's gone there, but Weiss Jr. is going to be back as the OC. And then you get to go play Georgia if you win that game. And you play Georgia, a team who you had a 14-point lead on in the second half and literally just had to get one stop.
Yeah, that's it.
I think Ole Miss should be
They only got
pumped.
Stopped once, too, on the other side of that.
Right.
I think they just punted once.
And now that game's going to be on a neutral site indoors. If I'm an Ole Miss fan, I should be pretty pumped with. The way things have gone for the Ole Miss the past 2 weeks, past 14 days, I'd be pretty happy with how things are set up right now.
Yeah, because 2 weeks ago we're talking, and it's like, are they just gonna completely biff Ole Miss? Are they gonna just kick them out for Lane Kiffin leaving? And now it's like, now you get kind of like a free win in the college football playoff. God, there's going to be a lot of fights at the Sugar Bowl. Georgia fans, Ole Miss fans, drunk as hell, 8:00, 7:00 local on New Year's Day. If they don't go out too hard the night before, it's going to be kind of a scary environment, I feel like.
Yeah, pray for New Orleans, I think, on that one. That Bourbon Street's going to be a scene with Georgia and Ole Miss there. That's going to be, actually, no matter what combination, because if not, it's Tulane, and that's going to be wild too. So no matter what, that situation in New Orleans is going to be nuts on New Year's Eve, New Year's Day for sure. Another one who I think should be pretty pumped, Oklahoma fans. This is the best possible draw I think you could have gotten for the first round anyway, because, I have been a little louder than you, I think, at saying that Oklahoma is a bunch of frauds, but I think that's been the general consensus on our show here for the past month or so. Now Oklahoma's first game is going to be at home against a team who they've beaten each of the past 2 years, who is just falling apart, wheels falling off, and just had to play an extra game against Georgia there. So Oklahoma fans, I think, should be pumped as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So that will be the Friday night game.
That's the Friday game
to lead us off, which is going to be great. Alabama favored, but narrowly. I like Oklahoma in that one as well. I think Alabama, a lot of their, as we're about to get to, a lot of their warts were put on display, not just against Oklahoma the first time, but also against Georgia. And I'm not so sure that you can apply the same you're not going to beat Saban twice to Kalen DeBoer. I don't think he's earned that level of fear and respect. So I'm not expecting Bama to completely be able to change its stripes here in just a 2-week turnaround against Oklahoma.
Yeah, for sure. And then on the other side, I think if I had to pick one team in their path that should be very nervous right now, I think I'd go Texas A&M. Yeah,
I think they could be one and done.
That game's at home. It's at Kyle Field. That's going to be an 11 a.m. local kick. That's the first game on Saturday for some reason. I don't know why that game is not in prime time, Miami and Texas A&M. But anyways, Miami can handle Texas A&M, I think, on the lines of scrimmage. And I think if Carson Beck has his head screwed on straight, he's going to be able to pick apart that defense. And we've seen this Miami defense be able to rein in some of these mobile quarterbacks and keep these guys in the pocket. And Marcel Reed, who has just been kind of a turnover machine here as of late, and the way he played against Texas, I think Miami's better up front on both sides of the ball than Texas is right now. I think I would take Miami in the points at the moment.
I would as well. I think that this has been a great year for A&M, 11-1, but we kind of circled it before the Longhorns games. I'm not sure that they're that good, as good as their record might dictate. There's some flaws to this team that I think can be exploited when you go up against a team that has an equal talent level or even a better talent level, and that's what we saw against Texas. I think Miami, again, if Beck doesn't have the famed Beck meltdown, they're in for a tough one, I think, at Kyle Field.
And then one team who I don't want to hear from, and I don't want to hear from Alabama fans, at all. Like the fact that you're in this thing, I think you should just be thanking your lucky stars and just saying thank you to the committee for putting you in this thing. Yeah, you got to go play Oklahoma, but like I don't want to hear it. And then I saw, oh my God, I wanted to throw up. I saw the headline on this article, and I know it was tongue in cheek, but that Alabama is potentially this year's Cinderella. Get out of here! Like that is just disgusting. I don't want to ever think of those two words together and put them in the same sentence of Alabama being a Cinderella team. And hopefully that we don't have to watch this team too much longer. That's how I feel.
I don't think we will. So that's the silver lining to that. But like Alabama Cinderella, like, do you hear yourself talking right now? Like, what a freaking joke that is. Like they're what Ohio State has like built themselves to be, or like what even you could say what Georgia's kind of built themselves to be. Like Alabama is like a joyless death machine, and that doesn't sound like Cinderella to me.
Yeah, that's for sure. All right, guys. So thank you very much for watching. If you've been tuning in here as we react to the playoff reveal and all that kind of stuff, hit that subscribe button if you are watching at College Football Tailgate on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. We are on all three platforms. You can follow us on Twitter at CFB Tailgate 25. Head over to TikTok at CFB Tailgate, where we do go live from time to time, like we did on Sunday afternoon with that rankings reveal and that instant reaction and all that kind of stuff. That was a lot of fun. A couple of you guys tuning in really enjoyed that. So just hit that subscribe button. We'll be with you guys all throughout the playoff and into the off season and all that kind of stuff as well. So just do us a favor, hit that subscribe as we continue to try to grow this show. But anyways, John, there were some football games this weekend that we do have to talk about here. And I'm just going to kind of tee you up, man. SEC Championship, Georgia 28, Bama 7. Like, I saw someone tweet out, like, this game was just belt to ass, and I think that's a pretty damn good way to put it, as Georgia holds Alabama to -3 rushing yards, 3 of 14 on third down, and time of possession, 37-23. It felt like every single time Georgia got the ball, they were already in Alabama territory.
Oh, well, that's what they like to, the Alabama Copers like to make a point of that. The Georgia got set up on short fields. Well, how did that happen? Did you turn the ball over? Did you get a punt blocked? Huh.
Oh, that?
So that stuff matters in a football game. Beyond me. But yeah, no, that was BTA for sure. There was a clip of a Georgia player who somehow found somebody's belt and was just whipping the bench during this game. So that was awesome. I mean, it was a lot of exercising of demons. It's not just beating Alabama in the SEC Championship game. It's beating them as handily as they did. I said to some friends as we were watching the game, and again, you know, like Georgia has beaten Alabama at least once, but before this, during my fandom. But I said that we set a new record for least amount of time that I wanted to jump off of a bridge.
That's good.
Like only 10 minutes. Did I want to go look for the highest elevation around me, because but once Alabama kind of got gifted some flags and scored that touchdown, I'm like, here we go. They're gonna at least make this one really, really close, and now I'm gonna turn into this ball of nerves. That didn't end up happening. It only lasted like 10 minutes. So like I've had heartburn that's worse than that. So that worked out well. Bama ran 2 plays in Georgia territory in the first half. Neither of them inside the 45. They got to the 49, completed a short pass, and then when they got up to the 46, they threw an interception to Dalen Everett. So they really only had one drive that went inside the Georgia 45. So that to me is total domination. I think if you look at the differences from the first 2 games, Georgia could not get Bama off the field, and they couldn't get after Ty Simpson. They had 19 pressures on Saturday, so a complete sea change as far as how the defense played. They just got after them. They were just, it was a very physical game. Like both teams were just cracking each other. It was very hard hitting, but Georgia, they just came out on top. I didn't think that the offense had the cleanest day necessarily, but they took advantage of the opportunities that were presented to them / afforded to them by the defense and the special teams. That's how you beat Alabama. You cannot squander your opportunities. They didn't. They made the most of them, and ultimately were able to get that win. So I think if you're looking at Georgia in the long term, and again, you're worried about their defense as like the potential undoing of this team, it's a very young defense, and now that they've had a season plus the SEC Championship to kind of get some experience, it does feel like Glenn Schumann, the defensive coordinator, someone who I was like really upset with for the first month and a half of the season. He's kind of gotten these guys to a point where he can be a little bit more creative with the kind of defense that he's calling, and these guys are a little bit more comfortable with their assignments, so they're able to play fast and not just having to react to everything. That makes this Georgia defense look really scary. So that's the big takeaway for me coming out of this game, is that it looks like Georgia actually has a defense that's at least on par with his offense now, and I think that gives them a chance to win the national championship.
I completely agree with you. I thought the defense was awesome. I mean, it's totally cliche to say, but this was a game about all three phases. And Georgia was better in all three phases on Saturday there down at Mercedes-Benz. I thought Gunnar Stockton did enough. I don't think he was great by any means. I would even be hesitant to say he had a good day. I think he did enough to win this game. My one gripe with him, I felt like he was trying to get Frazier, the running back, killed. Like
yes.
some of those dump offs, there was like 3 or 4 of them where he just like they were buddy passes, like right into the defender's grill. Where if I was Frazier, I'd be like, dude, you trying to kill me? Like I'm getting friggin' destroyed every time you throw me the ball and have those panicky little dump offs. Where I felt like Stockton probably should have just taken a couple plays with his made a take a few yards with his legs there instead.
Yeah, I mean, I think the trainers had to come out to check out on Frazier on one of those in the early goings along the sideline. Like he got completely annihilated.
That first one was rough. I thought he was done, but credit to him for sticking in the game. He scored a touchdown. So
he's a tough guy, but I think Bowen's got a little bit dinged up, and he has been a little bit dinged up. So I think that the added rest is going to help this backfield get healthy coming off of that game. You get some cold tub action. Going to need it because, again, like I said, that was a very physical game. And then lastly. Zach Branch, to quote Billy Madison, if you're Georgia, like, man, I'm glad I called that guy. Like,
for sure, he's awesome. So much fun
changer.
to watch. Like he's going to be a lot of fun to watch in the NFL too. Like he can do a little bit of everything. Don't want to call him a full-on gadget player, but when you get him in space or in those screen passes, like he is dangerous. And I thought he was a big-time factor in that game on Saturday.
He absolutely was, and he reminds me. And this is more of like a Georgia deep cut, but like he caught a game-winning pass in the Super Bowl. He's like if Mecole Hardman was an actual football player.
There you go. All right, yeah. But let's not let Zach Branch go to the Kansas City Chiefs. That's like
no, we're out on that. Even though the Chiefs are dead, which is awesome.
That's
at least for now.
Definitely looking like that. That's for sure. One other note though. Ty Simpson, underwhelming yet again. I mean, you can give the credit to the Georgia defense for just constantly causing havoc, but 19 of 39, 212 yards. I saw someone call Ty Simpson a poor man's Mac Jones, and that is like one of the worst digs I think I've ever heard, but kind of accurate.
Pretty scathing. That's what you get for pulling the hedges out like he did back in September. So it's going to come back on you. There's some karma to that. Don't do that. Don't touch our bush.
There you go. Fair enough. Moving on. Big Ten Championship. Indiana 13, Ohio State 10. I'm kind of speechless. Like, Indiana basically manhandled Ohio State, like, at the line. Like, I was not expecting that. This Indiana team, man, they are good. Like 5 sacks in this game. Julian Sand, another first possession interception. That's becoming a little bit of a thing here. And like Indiana made Ohio State one-dimensional. Outside of one 20-yard run from Bo Jackson, like they held him under 4 yards per carry. Ohio State not being able to get anything going on the run game really. And then Fernando Mendoza just hitting those big shots, and he was awesome, especially after that hit he took on the very first play of the game too, where it was just like, oh crap, we might be without him. Here comes his brother in for one play to hand the ball off, but Fernando comes back in. Jeremiah Smith got his in this game, but other than that, I mean, he had the one Cardinal Tate touchdown. Other than that, though, this Indiana defense was incredible. And shout out to Coach Sig, who has had one of the most remarkable 2-year stretches in college football history, I'll say so far, at Indiana.
I didn't think that you could do that in college football. Basketball, it makes more sense. You need 7 guys. 7 guys to change stuff. College football, you need not only 22 quality starters, but you need depth. And in 2 years, Indiana has gone from being not even lovable losers, just like, oh, they have a football program, I forgot about that, to twice making the college football playoff, having the number 1 seed, beating Ohio State, like the biggest bully on the block this year, the last 2 years really, and they played them in a rock fight, like a physical game where there's no real sort of fluky plays. Everything was straight up. Indiana did the damn thing. I just looked it up. Ohio State gave up 11 sacks this whole year. 5 were on Saturday.
Wow.
That's crazy. That's insane. So, and, the other thing is you're watching the game and you see these two teams line up and you're like, uh-oh. Like, Ohio State is so much bigger. Like, so much bigger. But Indiana just, God, they play so well together. Like, the chemistry's great. Like, everyone knows where they have to go, what they have to do, and they're going to absolutely light you up if they're in your area. It's awesome. Like, this Indiana team, this Indiana story, like, I just did not think that if there were a Cinderella, one could exist like this in college football. Like, I think at best you could draw up, like, Boise State 20 years ago, like, beating Oklahoma in the Fiesta Bowl. Like, that's as far as this Cinderella could go. But, like, being the number 1 seed, beating Ohio State like that, and getting a first-round bye, my goodness, Indiana, hats off.
Yeah, absolutely. And like we were talking about a little bit yesterday on that TikTok Live, Fernando Mendoza, it seems, has all but locked up the Heisman. I mean, he made some big throws down the stretch. He's been incredible. What an awesome story for him there. I have
some live updates for you on that, I took some screenshots during the game. If you're following us on Twitter, I also tweeted these out. But at 10:58 Eastern on Saturday night, Mendoza was plus 105 to win the Heisman. Diego Pavia was plus 145. And then at 11:45, Mendoza was minus 1,600 to win the Heisman. So that throw to Surratt got him on the podium, I'm thinking.
Yeah, that was a Heisman moment for sure. And also, like, how about Charlie Becker? Big time catch there to start off the second half early on in the third quarter. But he has been awesome lately and stepping up big time as Omar Cooper went down. It sounds like Cooper's going to be okay for the playoff. He's got a few weeks to get rested. But Becker has been awesome, man, here for the last month or so.
Yeah, and to your point, like, when Surratt was out for the Penn State game, so that was like the first time that we really saw Becker particularly involved. So dating back to that Penn State game, and he made a huge catch on that to help set up the game-winning touchdown to Omar Cooper against Penn State. Last 4 games, 19 catches on 27 targets, 358 receiving yards, and a touchdown in that span. So the touchdowns haven't really been there, but 13.5 yards per target, almost 20 yards per catch for Charlie Becker. That's a nice thing to have in your back pocket when defenses are already having to worry a lot about Omar Cooper and Elijah Surratt. Although Ohio State didn't have to worry about Cooper because he got hurt on the first drive, I want to say. And Becker, even with the added attention, still did his dang thing.
Yeah, so impressive win for Indiana. They are your number 1 overall seed, and deservedly so for the college football playoff. My one fear, John, and I mentioned this yesterday to you, like, did Ohio State just need to get punched in the mouth once? And now, like, they go back to bulldozer mode and get, like, things reconfigured? Or do you think this is a sign of things to come where if they do line up with a team that can match up with them up front, like, the Buckeyes are no sure thing to win this whole thing? Now, there's only maybe 2 or 3 teams that can do that, but I don't know. Did we see, like, some warts shown with this Ohio State team where, you mentioned this about a month ago, like, that maybe we should be sneaky concerned with Ohio State's run game and their lack of being able to run the ball, something that they weren't really able to do Saturday night against Indiana.
Right. So, again, like, all year, we've been trying to find a way, like, it had to be all hypothetical because on the field, they were just far and away the best team in the country, right? Like, there's just, like, how do you find fault in this Ohio State team? But I think that there was sort of like a building gasbaggery within Ohio State fandom where it's like, yeah, we have another gear. We just haven't shown you yet, And it's like, well, I feel like Saturday in the Big Ten Championship would have been an awesome time to show that gear. So that didn't materialize. And if I had like one kind of like major takeaway that was across the board from Ohio State people on Twitter on Saturday and Sunday. They are a little bit, not a little bit. They're very concerned about this Brian Hartline thing. They think that he's sort of, foot out the door. Obviously, having gotten the South Florida job, and I think that what Brian Hartline is great at is recruiting and developing receivers, but play calling and all that stuff, like maybe not entirely his bag. So Ohio State fans were very much in the we need to
Call Chip
let him
Kelly.
go and just do the call Chip. They might. He's not doing anything.
He doesn't have a job right now.
And basically give him the same treatment. I kind of memory hold this one, but I guess Nick Saban sort of like shelved Lane Kiffin for the college football playoff a couple of years ago. They want them to do that. So long way of answering your question about, like, does this awaken something in Ohio State? I think last year, it's easy to draw on that parallel and envision something similar happening, but I think Saturday was maybe a little bit more of an uncovering of some deeper issues there. And again, I don't expect it to be a problem against either Miami or A&M. And I do think that Ohio State would play their best game possible against Georgia, but I do think that the gap with which I hold Ohio State over the rest of the country has shrunk a little bit in light of Saturday's game.
I think that's absolutely fair to say, and a fair way to put that after what we saw on Saturday night. But the Buckeyes do have, about a month, really, 4 weeks, really, to figure this thing out before they play again. The Heartline thing is interesting. I texted that to a buddy, too. The way I put it was just like, what did Brian Hartline do this week other than accept the South Florida job? Is that what he just did? Like, just completely focused on USF and thought that they were going to take care of Indiana? Because Ohio State's offense looked a little bit stuck in the mud Saturday night. All right, one more championship game that I really want to dig into, the Big 12 game. Don't have a ton to say about this because I really was not all that surprised outside of what happened in like the first 10 minutes of this game.
Right.
Texas Tech 34, BYU 7. 34 unanswered points for the Red Raiders after BYU goes on a 10-minute touchdown drive or something like that to open this thing up, and they were up 7-0, but then just like the wheels kind of fell off for the Cougars. Bear Bachmeier looking like a freshman that was in over his head once again against this Texas Tech defense, which is very scary, by the way. Bachmeier, 2 picks, 2 fumbles. He did recover one of them, but still 3 turnovers for the freshman quarterback. Rough day for him. Another fumble. I think LJ Martin had one. This Texas Tech defense is like unrelenting, and they're going to be a problem for whoever they see. I can't wait to see them against Oregon, and with all of their weapons, I think that's going to be a fantastic matchup. But I do want to just give you BYU's drive chart after that first drive where they scored.
Go ahead.
Punt, turnover on downs, punt, missed field goal, interception, punt, fumble, interception, turnover on downs, fumble, punt.
Yeah.
Tough.
So really, like they were in it early in the second half still. Like, I kind of thought that they still had a chance. Like there was that inflection point where Texas Tech has that long drive, like 10, 11 plays, but they go for it on fourth down, they don't get it. Mm-hmm. So you're like, BYU, you're down 6. Let's see a drive here. Immediately turn it over. It gets turned into a touchdown like the next play by Cameron Dickey. Then you go 3 and out. And then at that point, like the crushing weight of Texas Tech was simply too much for BYU to overcome. So I know that I squarely took BYU, and I felt good about it until the third quarter. And then, again, that sequence and dovetailing with your drive chart there, like, yeah, the BYU's offense just had no recourse, had no answer. I think they'll be better for it in the end. They're bringing Sataki back, of course. Bear Bachmeier will just be a true sophomore next year. So, I would imagine that they are probably second or third in the Big 12 odds for next season once those get opened back up. But very clear to me that Texas Tech is they're the best team in the Big 12. It would not surprise me. Or it surprised me, but like I think it's within the realm of possibility if they get past Oregon that they could beat Indiana.
That matchup up front is going to be really interesting to see if we do get that with the way that Texas Tech defense is played. Yeah, like I said, BYU 200 yards of total offense in the game. 90 of those yards came on the first drive.
Yeah.
So, like, impressive. Jacob Rodriguez, awesome. Should be a household name if he's not already. The linebacker there for Texas Tech, as that defense is legit. They got some nice playmakers on offense. So, yeah, I do think Texas Tech has a chance to make some big-time noise here in this playoff. And then, lastly, the ACC game ends in overtime with Duke beating Virginia. Virginia, like, I don't know what Virginia was doing in this game half the time. Like, they low-key benched their star running back in the first quarter, I believe. He doesn't get any carries there in the first quarter. Chandler Morris just played really stupidly outside of some drives in the fourth quarter. And then you get to overtime, Duke scores, and the first thing you do, well, one, let's not forget, you get a stupid unnecessary roughness call on defense that sends you back to the 40. Didn't know that was a thing in overtime. And then two, you come out with a wide receiver double pass as you're trailing in overtime, and you throw an interception to lose the game on the first play. Like, Tony Elliott, as much credit as I wanted to give him for this season, like, dude, what were you doing Saturday night? Did you just think Duke was going to roll over? Like, it was pathetic.
Like I was saying last week about, like, Lane Kiffin, like, he any sort of perceived growth that you thought or were giving him credit for, like, completely erased. Same with Tony Elliott. Like, I feel like he's been mostly done a really bad job at Virginia. But, you know, I think by virtue of the ACC shaping up the way that it did this year, he had a chance to kind of, I was like, man, Tony Elliott making me eat my words. Nope, still not great. Not great. So, I mean, yeah, hats off to Duke. I think, you know, coming into the year, I had a lot of interest in Duke because I'm a big Darian Mensah guy. They lost a bunch of games that you can't really excuse. But if I think it's Duke is paying him a lot of money if he comes back next year. So Duke might actually be someone to keep an eye on going forward, even if, like, you know, they're out of meaningful games for this year.
Yeah, and Manny Diaz, I mean, there's just so many different funny situations. So one, Manny Diaz wins an ACC championship with a 5-loss team before Miami does. And two, Manny Diaz also wins an ACC championship to basically send Miami to the playoff. Like,
what a world.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable stuff there that, like, all you can say is college football in 2025. College football. Like, that's really all I got for that. All right, so moving on. Monday Coat, Monday Smoke. You got anything? This might be like one of the last ones we got here, John. I mean, championship weekend in the book. Anything you need to get off your chest that we haven't already?
Oh man, I mean, I felt like I got to do my bit for Georgia. We talked about on the coping side with Notre Dame. You know, I do just kind of, I'm like making sure that we have enough room here to, like, kind of ask some questions about Ohio State though.
Sure.
Because yes, like, Indiana undefeated, like, they're the only undefeated team in the country, right? So, like, I don't know. If you're an Ohio State fan, like, how do you feel after that game? Like, how much are you willing to say that you weren't trying? Because I'm not sure that I buy that. I think that, you know, as the game progressed, it's like, damn, like, we gotta play our best. And Indiana's best was just as good as yours, and they made the right plays at the right time. Both teams had missed field goals in this one, so you can't just only chalk it up to that because Indiana could have been up by more had they made a field goal. So I'm just wondering, like, where the headspace is for Buckeye Nation, because it had been so etched in stone, I feel like. And I still think that ultimately, like, if I had to bet it right now, Ohio State's going to win the national championship. But you feel a little funny. You feel a little different right now here on Monday than you thought you would.
Yeah, I have the same question too, and more specifically, like, how do you feel about your quarterback right now?
That's the thing.
How do you feel, like, if the game is put completely in his hands, where you can't run the ball against this team? Let's say you go up against Georgia, right? And this Georgia run defense has been really good for the past month, and Bo Jackson can't get anything going. And Julian Sand has to make plays. How are you feeling right now? Do you have the same faith in him that you have had in past years, whether it's Will Howard last year and how he looked in the playoff and he flipped the switch, or C.J. Stroud a few years ago? Like, how do you feel about Julian Sand right now if he is the one that has to make all these plays and bring you to a national championship? That's my big question with the Buckeyes at the moment.
Exactly. Again, we didn't really get a firm answer during the season of like, what does it look like when Sand has to go out there and win the game for them? And, we almost like, or maybe it was just like my fault. Like, but after the Michigan game, I'm like, oh, they got tested and they immediately passed that test.
Right.
But this was a 4-quarter test, and there was opportunities for Sand to kind of have his response, have his moment, and it was Indiana on the other side. So I think that's fascinating, and it's something that I think everyone needs to keep an eye on and kind of like keep in the back of their heads when kind of projecting out the rest of these college football playoffs, particularly as it obviously pertains to Ohio State, because I do wonder about Sand and what it looks like when he's under pressure, and maybe he didn't have the cleanest platform, and I'm being a little bit reductive here, but did you get like 40 yards on that last throw? What's going on there?
Yeah, it was a total odd situation there with that Hail Mary and all that kind of stuff.
If you got all the
little questioning of the arm strength right now.
Yeah, I'm wondering if it's a little pew pew pop gun.
Yeah, and then my one last question with him too. First drive interception, is this just a coincidence that it's happened back-to-back weeks, or is this another trend to look out for here in the first playoff game that they'll have against either A&M or Miami, who both those teams do have pretty good pass rushes and could definitely get in the backfield there, and we'll see what happens there with that. But speaking of A&M and Miami, John, we do have those 4 first-round games. We got Oregon, JMU. We got Miami and Texas A&M, Bama and Oklahoma, and then Ole Miss, Tulane. Betting-wise, I have already placed 2 bets. I have laid the big numbers with those 2, with Ole Miss and Oregon. Personally, they'll probably be on the show card as well. We'll see how they get once we get closer next week. But I'm not scared of laying points in this first round. Yeah, I'm kind of relying on what we saw last year where all 4 home favorites won and covered in this first round. But I think with those 2 spots especially and those 2 offenses, Ole Miss and Oregon, I think they're both going to kind of be able to name their number in these games.
Yeah, those are unfortunately going to be blowouts. So like really we get the 2 good first round games with the first 2, Friday night and early Saturday, and then Tulane Ole Miss and the Oregon JMU game. Like you can kind of like make sure that you have it on, but you can kind of earn some
wrap some
points.
presents.
Yeah, you can wrap some presents during that time because I don't think we're gonna be getting much. I mean, I'm at least like interested in the Ole Miss Tulane game in the sense that we do need to see what this team looks like without Lane Kiffin. They do have Charlie Weiss back, everything like that. I'm like bitter about how bad North Texas played. I think North Texas would have been a actually pretty interesting game for Ole Miss. I just don't know if Retzlaff and company are going to be able to hold up with Ole Miss. But that one, if I'm just kind of like trying to spin zone some level of like upset intrigue here on this board, because otherwise I'm not really seeing it quite as much. But my 2 that I would like right now is probably Oklahoma money line and Miami +4.
All right, very good. I like those. I'm going to be taking a hard look at that total in that Bama-Oklahoma game as well. We're sitting at 40.5 right now. I'm sure that's going to probably drop into the 30s by the time we get to that kickoff.
Yeah, I think that's a good call. Yeah, just 40.5 right now. I do, if you'd like, have a project or some lines from Sports Betting AG for the quarterfinals, depending on how these shake out. If Ohio State were to play A&M, they would be a 7-point favorite. If they were to play Miami, they would be a 10-point favorite. Texas Tech right now +1 against Oregon over there. Indiana would be -5.5 against Bama, 6 flat 6 against Oklahoma. Georgia only 4.5 against Ole Miss.
Really? I'm sure. What was that line in Athens? Was it 6? I'm trying to think. Yeah, it was a touchdown. I think it was a touchdown. So, okay, neutral site, interesting. I mean, that one could definitely be a lot different depending on how Ole Miss looks without Lane and all that kind of stuff. But definitely something to keep an eye on there. We will be back on Thursday. We'll talk a little bit more about these games, more feelings here as we go throughout the week. We'll preview Army-Navy, right?
Yeah,
Like we got
not?
to. Maybe a little Boise State-Washington. I don't know if we're feeling nuts. We got a little bowl game Saturday night there with those two. But yeah, a lot of things to talk about. Who knows what else is going to happen? Transfer portal stuff's already happening. So obviously, we got a lot to talk about this week. We're not going anywhere. We'll talk to you guys later. Hit that subscribe button, College Football Tailgate, wherever you find your podcasts or on YouTube. Thanks for watching, guys. For John, I'm Dan. We'll talk to you guys later this week.